All right, it looks like we're at the top of the hour, so we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone, to the Business DNA Community Call. It's very exciting to be here, and I appreciate everybody's time today. We've got a couple of folks internationally on the call today, so we're always excited to have folks not only in the United States, but other parts of the world. So today, and we try to present these community calls about once a quarter, and we've got some exciting news to share with everyone today. And it's really about bringing our DNA practitioners together to share and grow. So Nikki Evans and I, trying to use her maiden name, present this community call, and we're always looking for feedback. So one of the things that's going to be important is for you to provide some information or in the survey that we'll send out. But I'll introduce myself and then give Nikki an opportunity to introduce herself, although many of you know who she is. My name is Leon Morales. I'm the managing director of the company here at DNA Behavior. And my sort of real passion is around integrating behavior into organizations. It's something I'm very passionate about. And I was able to recruit Nikki a few years ago to start working with us. She and I worked in a former company, and we just have sort of passion for human behavior. So with that, I'll let Nikki introduce herself, and then we'll get started.
Great, thanks, Leon. I'm Nikki Evans, and excited to be here with you, excited to continue to grow this community, and really looking to help engage all of us in bigger and better conversations and deep dive into the work that we do and how what we do can help with the work that you do, how the work that you do informs the work that we do. So excited to be here, and hopefully you'll take some great nuggets away from our call today.
All right. Thank you, Nikki. And to that end, one of the things that we do is we do record this session. You will be given a copy of the recording along with this presentation tomorrow. And there is a short survey that'll be sent shortly after this call. We look for that feedback, and we always extend an invitation for you to, if you're interested in presenting a business case, we'd love to have you on one of our future community calls. And we've got someone today that will introduce and give his experience on coaching or on the training. So we're excited about his participation. But for our agenda today, we're going to cover business DNA, navigating during uncertain times, which we all know has been sort of an interesting time in 2020. And so we want to share some of that, and certainly looking for feedback as well. Introducing the new business DNA discovery experience. That's probably something we're really excited about. We've been working in this for a couple of months. We've introduced it on our financial DNA side. So it's going to go live in our business DNA instance in the next month or so. And then an update on the coach network, a little bit of information on that. We did cover it on the last call, but we've got some additional information we want to share. And then we're excited about our next cohort training scheduled in October. And then we'll leave time for Q&A. And if you notice, there is a Q&A box at the bottom right-hand side of the screen. If you have a question that you're interested or we didn't provide clarity, please put a question in the question box, or you can actually introduce it into chat. Either one of those will work. Nikki and I will sort of monitor that as we go through this. And to that end, we'll go ahead and get started with a poll question, something we always like to do just to get a feel sort of what's on your mind. And as we're moving into the fall, and those of us that are sort of in the southern part of the United States, is starting to get cool. It's kind of an interesting time for us. But what challenges are you hearing from your clients? Sort of, because we do know after Labor Day things pick up and it kind of changes the business mood. Are you hearing? Are we starting to hear about symptoms of burnout because we're all working virtual? B, we continue to operate as normal and haven't noticed any differences in our clients or teams. Or C, we are seeing something different. If you could just answer that question, sort of what the business climate is like for your clients. If you could just take a second and answer those, one of those multiple choice questions. And we'll give it just a couple more seconds, if you don't mind just completing it. And it looks like we've got the majority of the folks in. We'll go ahead and close the poll here. So interesting, A gets the number one sort of choice. I'm starting to hear about symptoms of burnout because we do hear that, people are actually collaborating together. And then we're seeing something different, which I'm always interested in what people are hearing and seeing. But that gets a little bit of feel of what's going on in the business climate right now. And so we appreciate your participation in that. And with that, we'll go ahead and have Nikki start the program.
Great. And I would be super interested in when we get to Q&A about what it is that you're seeing that's different. I know I have certainly talked to clients who are starting to see those symptoms of burnout, and I think that we've gone through kind of a period of prolonged stress and uncertainty. So burnout is a natural fallout of that, where people lack clarity and certainty on things, they can start experiencing burnout. So would love to see what else you guys are experiencing out there. So one of the things that we have noticed is with the shift to having folks work from home, a majority of companies work from home or starting to go back to the office or in some sort of hybrid, or maybe they've never been out of the office, but that's led to some interesting challenges with workspace and with distancing and safety and concerns. Is how are you seeing this work from home or this kind of COVID-19 environment impacting your balance of results leadership and relationship leadership? And so that's one of the things that we all have a natural bent for, and which we measure with our DNA, which but I think it's really interesting that a lot of what we've heard with people making that shift to work from home, and even the shift, maybe moving back to the office, is that while results are always really important, that there has been a pull on leaders to lean more into that relationship style and to do more connection with employees, more reaching out, not only with COVID, but with the racial injustice issues that have happened in our country, with a kind of turbulent time that we're going through. What we're looking for from our leaders is for them to be more real, for them to connect better with us, for them to lean into relationship. And so we've really drawn on managers and leaders to show up and ask questions for their team. Are you doing okay? How are you? How can we support you? And that's really unnatural for some leaders. But for those leaders that are very results driven and very results focused, they're being called to be more relational to get to those results. Because if people aren't feeling okay and safe and clear about what's needed from them, it's going to be really difficult for them to get and drive those results. And so this is just a moment for us to think about, how are you making that balance? Where have you seen shifts for your clients or for yourself, leaning more into relationship? Because it seems to me that the environments now are calling for us to engage our communities, engage our teams through relationship, through trying to overcome that Zoom fatigue and being on camera all the time to get back to results, is really having to check in with one another. And so I do think that this is the time when a lot of results-focused leaders who have been really successful in business organizations, and when they were able to be in an office with each other, were really successful, are maybe struggling a little bit to be more relational, because that's what's called for to help connect everybody when you can't see each other all the time. And I think it might be an opportunity for those leaders that naturally are more relationship oriented to really shine and set an example and balance out their more results focused counterparts. So how are you helping your clients see those strengths and lean into and find partners in their organizations so that we get that performance balance of results and relationships? So just something for you to think about as you're working with clients, but also in terms of your own leadership, in terms of your own consultancy, whatever kind of work that you're doing, kind of recognizing that although we can't necessarily be physically together, that these relationships are really important, and building some sort of connection and having people feel safe and heard is really, really important right now. And that the organizations that are getting that right are doing better, I think, than some other organizations that are struggling with that. So another way, though, to connect and create these connections is to really use comparison reports and start to understand each other and understand connections between people and what might be working and what might not be working. And so we really encourage, especially for those more results-focused leaders that have trouble on that relationship side, what can you do to connect better, to understand what your team needs from you as a results-driven leader? And so here you can start addressing differences by seeing them objectively, creating that common language, and building agreements. And so if I were to look at Graham and Alexander here, Alexander being the square, the lighter colored squares, and Graham being the darker colored squares on this report, just thinking about, what are the strengths and struggles in this relationship going to be? So with one being really highly take charge and one being really cooperative, I could see that Alexander's ideas and agendas may overrun Graham's at certain times. And so if he's not consciously trying to make that flex and pull out thoughts and opinions from Graham, he may be missing the best. He may be missing that engagement with Graham. And also because Alexander's very outgoing and Graham is very reserved, that's another huge difference. And so under stress, you're going to see them pull away from each other. You may actually see Alexander chasing Graham under stress, right? So under stress, Alexander really wants to connect with people. And so he's going to make every attempt to establish and reestablish connection. Under stress, Graham is probably going to withdraw. He's going to need some time to think about what's happening, to process the stress, to process the environment. And so as Graham withdraws, Alexander is going to is going to reach stronger for connection. And so there's this little dance of one backing up and one stepping forward, one backing up and one stepping forward, trying to reestablish that connection. Without this language, without this kind of objective report to see this and see that this is a pattern that could be happening with them, it becomes this really awkward situation for both of them where neither of them are getting their needs met. Graham feels like Alexander is always imposing on him, and Alexander feels like Graham isn't engaging with him and won't open up and share with him. And so when you have this, you can start to see, this is how I'm going to behave. And so Alexander, when things are going badly, I just need you to back off for a little bit. Go talk to somebody else about it. Let me process for a little bit, and then we can come together. You'll also see, some significant difference in their pace of work. So while Graham tends to be more patient, Alexander is much more fast-paced. So logical, task-focused, rational. Graham, while still on the fast-paced side, it has a much easier time being more patient and open, thinking things through a little bit more carefully. You'll see that in his reserved too, that he'll want to think through what he's going to say before he blurts it out, where Alexander may be somebody that will just share his ideas out loud and continue thinking as he's talking. And so recognizing that, there may be people impacts of these decisions that Alexander is going to have an easy time making. Graham can help him see what's the impact on the rest of the team. You also see a really huge difference on spontaneous and planned. And so again, this is one where Alexander may be kind of going with his gut, making things up on the fly as the stress is happening. He's continuing to lean into his spontaneity, going with his gut, making stuff up, being more of a generalist, not being very specific about what he's asking for from the team, where Graham is going to lean into that accuracy and planning and detail. And this is a place where people make up real stories about each other. So a really easy story for Graham to make up about Alexander in this situation is he wants me to fail, he won't give me the information, he's not giving me enough detail, he's not being instructive enough. A really easy story then for Alexander to make up is Graham is sticking to a plan that's no longer going to work. He's making me do a bunch of busy work. Nobody needs this much detail to get through a plan. I don't understand why every time I send him something, he sends it back with 500 questions. He's just trying to slow things down. He doesn't want me to succeed. So recognizing that they're just wired differently, and if they can lean into the strengths of each other, that maybe, Alexander has some great ideas and can sketch them out, and then Graham can fill them in. Maybe it's more of meeting together and thinking through what are the big ideas and the gut decisions that need to be made, and then how do we operationalize that for the rest of our team. And so Those are places where, again, really easy to make up stories. And once we've made up a story about each other, it's really hard to backtrack from that story. So using this kind of report, especially when we're not working in the same office, when we can't see each other's body language as much, even if you're on a Zoom call, you typically only get kind of shoulders and above. Sometimes you get a little bit more than that. But you're missing out on a lot of body language there. So it's really easy to make up stories, and it's really easy for us to believe our stories about each other, particularly where we have big behavioral differences. So helping your clients walk through this, or helping you with a client understand where your big differences are and have some common language to talk about it, can really help you build those agreements about how you want to address those things. So you'll see they're not so different on skeptical and trusting. It's probably pretty easy for them to come together on that. They're both a bit pioneering, so they're both probably driven to get their goals met and their ideas. They're both kind of risk-taking, but here you'll see that Graham is much more creative than Alexander. And so Alexander really likes to see things that have worked from experience, that are practical, that he knows have worked before. He would probably prefer to start with a template on things. Where Graham is much more comfortable starting with a blank piece of paper, thinking about things originally, making up a new way to do things, changing things up. And so again, this can be a place where they can help counterbalance each other, where when something new does need to come up, Graham can think of that new way to do it. You know, if Alexander has this kind of gut idea that they should be pursuing something, but he doesn't know how that's going to work because he hasn't seen that work before, Graham can really help him operationalize that idea, figure out how to make that idea real and communicate that to other people. And when Graham's working with Alexander, he can really look at, how do I tie this new idea, this new way of doing this original thought to something that Alexander's seen work before? Because if he knows that it has worked in the past, he's more likely to jump on with my idea now. So I know that we don't know Graham and Alexander, and that you know these people aren't specific to people that you know necessarily, but I do think that it's really helpful to look at what we can learn about a comparison report and what we can infer about how these people would work together. I would imagine that decisions that get made often get made by Alexander, with Graham maybe being more passive, maybe not feeling like he has as much of a voice here. And so if I'm looking at facilitating this, I'm going to want to try to slow things down a little bit, try to make sure that Graham feels safe and encouraged to speak. I'm also going to, as a reflective thinker, he'll probably want to have had time to review his thoughts about something ahead of time. So particularly if we're going to need to make a decision in a meeting, I'll want to send him all the information I have about that decision and the request to help me make a decision ahead of that meeting. I would also, you know, think about working with them from a, you know, who am I more similar to? Can I ride the line as a coach or a consultant and really help facilitate conversation with them? Why would they want to work with me? What are the characteristics and skills that I have that would make them want to work with me? And, you know, how do I want to structure this communication? So I mentioned for Alexander, I want to get to the point and offer some options and be pretty fast. For Graham, I want to allow him some time to think. I want him to feel understood. You know, both of them are willing to take some risk. Both of them are willing to go after goals that they really believe in. So that's probably that place of common ground, is with both of them being pretty pioneering. It's, hey, I know you're both driven to go after an idea. Are you going after the same idea? Or do you have different, you know, competing ideas that you're both trying to pursue? And is that where we're seeing conflict in your relationship? And then, you know, thinking about, what if they don't agree with this report? What if they have questions about this report? How might I address those questions? So I just gave you a lot of ideas about how I would work with a comparison report, and this will give you as a takeaway those questions to think about. So identifying where there would be strengths and struggles with each other. So I kind of walked you through what the strengths of them learning to work together might be, where they might have struggles that would impact each other or their work together, how I might facilitate them, what their decision-making pattern is likely to be, and if that, you know, and just asking, is that working for you? Is that a good decision-making pattern, or do we need to try to facilitate something else? Would this be a good pair for me to work with? Would they want to work with me? how would I help make everybody comfortable? I talked a little bit about that by sending an agenda ahead of time and kind of slowing things down and making sure that each person had an opportunity to contribute. And, you know, thinking about those behaviors and kind of where they might be together, like in their pioneering factor, and what might be important about finding that common ground with them to get to whatever the goal is of our working relationship together. And, you know, I think one thing that I didn't address specifically, but if one of them really feels like there's an objection in the report, and it's rare that we see an objection to the entire report, but sometimes people see a factor that they, you know, see the opposite strengthen. And so it's hard for them to identify with, say, patient or trusting if they feel like having a healthy skepticism is really important as a leader. And so helping them understand what that means is one way to go about it. Tell me what you mean. Tell me what's uncomfortable about trusting for you. Tell me how you show up as more skeptical, or tell me how you show up as more fast-paced. Give me some examples. Usually in those examples, either when they're trying to think of examples or as they give you examples, you can hear some clues that indicate that the assessment was probably correct. I think also asking, what would other people around you say? What would your partner say? What would your work colleagues say? Can give them a window into something that may be a blind spot for them. And then as a consultant or a coach, you can work with them through that blind spot to help them own their unique personality a little bit better. So these are just some ways that, you know, working with a comparison report can really help you build better relationships with people, help them see what dynamics are happening in their relationship, even help leaders communicate. While I want to be more relational with you, my take charge, fast-paced, skeptical nature makes it really difficult for me to lean into relationships. And so when I'm asking you how you're doing, when I'm slowing myself down and asking these questions, I have to be really mindful to do that. And I have to kind of gear up. So I can't do those things with you every day, but I'm making a commitment that, you know, Fridays are our reconnect as a human day. And I'm going to make an effort to make sure that everybody has a chance to feel heard and appreciated, or, you know, however the leader wants to do that. But I think being authentically, it's really hard for me to slow down and ask some of these questions that I know you're dying for me to you know, want to know about you. So help me do that. Like, let's schedule a time to do that. Let me try to get myself in a point of frame of mind to be able to have those conversations. So Leon, I'm going to hand it back to you for our next poll.
Great. Thank you, Nikki, for the overview of the comparison report. And those of you that don't use the comparison reports, I really recommend that you work with those. As Nikki was pointing out, you can have two people from very different perspectives that you can learn a lot if you're sort of working with them as a coach, or if it's somebody that you're having an issue with, you can really get an understanding of how they're wired differently than you. So thank you, Nikki. And so we do have our second poll question here. What do you find most helpful when using a business DNA comparison report? And we've got three options here. A, it helps me identify the differences in the two individuals to highlight their strengths. B, helps the individuals see each other's differences and getting to a better outcome. Or C, I have not had the opportunity to use a comparison report yet. So if you could just take a second, and I know we have some new clients that have may not be in the system yet, but if you could just give us your answer, that'll help us understand if this is important for you. Okay, let's keep it open just a couple seconds longer. If we could just finish up the polling, and I think we're done. All right. So we're 50-50 here. It does help identify the differences in the two individuals, highlighting their strengths, and helps the individual see each other's differences and better outcome. So that's great. That's probably what we would have expected. And those of you that haven't used it, you know, haven't disclosed, but I think a 50-50 is probably the right answer. So with that, Nikki, we'll progress.
All right. We did have somebody else lined up for you today, but instead you get to hear from me because of a scheduling conflict that came up. So I am going to stop sharing the screen here so I can pop up and say hello to everybody. So welcome. And I just wanted to share a little bit about how I've been using the business DNA tools during this kind of uncertain time. So I've noticed that with so many job losses, furloughs, layoffs, that people really are struggling a little bit to figure out where do they go next, what can they do. And so what I've been doing is just offering people an opportunity to take their assessment and then sharing with them their work talent reports or their hiring report or both, or even doing a debrief with the workplace operations report to help them really find a job that's going to be something that they're going to find fulfilling post this environment that we're in. So a lot of people even, were furloughed from jobs that were fine, but that maybe weren't really using the best of their strengths. And so what I have found is that it's a great way for me to build connection with my community. It's a way for me to give back to folks that are in groups that I'm a part of, on teams that I'm a part of, that allows me to be of service to those individuals and really leverage the package that I have to provide this valuable service to folks on LinkedIn that I see are searching for a job, or folks that have connected with me and asked a question, or former colleagues that that I've noticed are searching for something. It allows them. I had somebody reach out potentially looking for coaching services and then said, well, that's not really what I'm looking for. I need a resume writer. But being able to offer, great, you don't need my services right now. Would this be of use to you? Can I just provide this to you free of charge so that you have an opportunity to have some words to use when you go on a job interview, so that you are able to choose a work environment that's going to use the best of your strengths, so that when you're in an interview, you can ask some really good interview questions about the kind of environment that you would be working in, so that you can mentally match that with the environments that you work best in. So that you're not accepting another job that's going to be a job that sucks your soul when you get there, because it's a job and you need to have a job. But can you find one that provides an environment that allows you to use your strengths? How often are you going to get to be able to use some of those top talents that show up on your hiring report? How do people make decisions here? How much of a voice will I have in decision making? What kind of rewards do people get in your organization? Is there opportunity for me to travel or speak or to go to learning events or take online courses with your organization? So I've found that really clients and non-clients, really, I've found in this time it's really been a huge value add to people that may not need services today, probably can't afford services today, but it's planting seeds that I have something of value, that when you need to work with somebody else and you need a comparison report, when you get your dream job and you have a team and you need to work with a team, or just remembering that I was able to reach out and do a favor for you at some point in the past that had some meaning to you, that makes you feel like not everything in your world is going wrong right now. I have found it's an excellent way to leverage the packages that we have to provide just a quick value add. And I haven't had to spend a lot of time with these people. In one case, I just sent the link for the assessment, and when the results came in, I attached a couple of reports and said, I really wish you the best of luck on your job interview. And I've done that a few times just to have people know that there's a resource out here that's available, that if in the future they would like more coaching or more consulting around how to use these strengths, around how to do an interview, around even how to conduct interviews with other people, that I'm a resource for them. And so it's a really great way as coaches and consultants that we can give back to our communities in a way that's really valuable for people that are on the receiving end of that. If you can imagine being in a place where you're searching for a job right now, you're not sure, you've been in a career for 10 years, you're not really sure what else you're going to do. Your industry maybe is never going to come back the way it was. If you're thinking about the hotel industry, some of the entertainment industry, some of the big venue industry, those jobs may not come back for years. And so when you're in that position and you're thinking, well, what else could I be good at? Like, I can't not have a job for 2 years. What am I going to do? That must be extremely scary for people. And so what I've found is a way to just reach out and provide an offer of, hey, I think this resource might be really useful to you. Is this something that I can offer to expand my network, to expand the number of people who are smart about knowing themselves and are choosing work that really is meaningful to them so that they will be able to contribute more, be more engaged, find environments that they're happy in. So that's something that I've chosen to do with the DNA packages. And I think it's something that we as a coaching and consulting community at DNA can really help our communities around us and our networks around us as part of our give back this year, where people may not be spending as much on some of the programs that we would have offered. This can be a great way to stay top of mind with clients, offer them something of value, and continue to help people understand themselves and understand each other a bit better. So I'd like to just encourage people to think about that and other opportunities that you have to share what you do with your communities and leverage the DNA insights to do so.
Excellent. Thank you, Nikki. That was great. Appreciate you giving your passionate speech on camera. We always appreciate that. And if there are no questions for Nikki, or if there are, please put those in the question box or chat. And if there are no questions on that, we're going to talk about some of our cool innovation that's coming up.
We are, and I'm going to stop my video here so that you can see the full page experience. So we are super excited. I am thrilled about this, to introduce the new discovery experience. So on the left-hand side, you see the experience that we have today. So when you send folks to take their discovery today, this is what your clients will see. These are the questions that they answer. So we're not updating the questions because those are scientifically validated and they get us our rock star answers. But what we did do is refresh the look and feel. So now what your clients are going to see is something that looks like this, where they can drag their answers. I think we may have actually changed this up so that you see a column here where that's most like and least like, where your clients can go, but it's an updated look and feel. Same great questions, but it gives you a progress bar to say, hey, you're slightly behind average or you're on track with average. So those folks that are overthinking get a little cue that they need to, keep moving through the experience. You get a really clear image of how far you are on the journey. How much you've got completed. And you're allowed to at least go back one question. You can go back one question or you can continue going forward. So it keeps people on that forward trajectory and moving forward. So we're super excited about that. So that's the discovery process where your clients take the discovery itself. And then when the discovery is done, they will be sent to this new participant dashboard. And we're also really excited about this because this will be configurable by the consultant. So at the beginning, and I didn't share here, there are two screens, one that has a video that explains what the DNA assessment is, what the business DNA assessment is. And then there's another screen that has instructions. So the instructions are written or there's a video. So on both screens, you have a video about the business DNA experience. So your clients can either just read or watch the video. And then there's an instruction screen that has a video about how to take the discovery. And then your clients are taken here to this dashboard. This dashboard will be configurable by you as a consultant or coach as to what you want to see. Right now we have these cards to show your work talents, to show your performance keys, and then to show your hiring talents, so the tasks on your hiring report. We will be adding more cards to this, and then you can configure which cards show up for your clients on this results screen. They can also click to view their report, and that will automatically download the report that you've made accessible to them on their computer or phone or device. So we're super excited about this new experience. It's coming in the next 4 to 5 weeks. And you'll see in the admin system, there'll be a new self-registration link area. So you can see that there's a new self-registration link for this new experience. So you would just send that new link out to your clients instead of the one that you had been sending. The one that you have been sending will continue to work, so it will go to the traditional discovery questionnaire that's there today, and it will go to the results page that's available today. If you want to have your clients have this new experience, be on the lookout for that. We will definitely send an announcement out when it's available, and then you can go into the admin system and switch out your self-registration link. If you have that self-registration link currently in your email or on your website, you should be able to take the new link and just replace that new link where you have it, either in your email or on your website. So we're also excited about our coach network, and we're continuing to work on developing that network out a bit more. And so again, there's a menu of modules and services for you to choose from if you're interested in working with a coach as part of the coach network, or if you're interested in just doing a one-off 30-minute or 60-minute debrief call. Happy to walk you through if you've got a client that's got you really stumped and you're not sure how to work with, or a team report or comparison report that you just really want to have a quick dive in with a coach. We can do that with you. And then also, because many of you are coaches, you can sign up for a waiting list to be part of the first cohort of coaches that we add to the coach network. So we're still really building this program up and working on exactly how this will work and exactly what you need to do to be part of the network. You will have to have a package with us, and there's some requirements around that, and you will have to have gone through the accredited training. And so those are some of the prerequisites, and then we're working on kind of all of the mechanics of exactly how this works and exactly what has to happen to get you listed. We're envisioning having each coach have a small profile listed, and then folks can choose the modules with us. So if you're interested in hearing more about that, if you go to the Coach Network page, you will see Join the Coach Network, and you'll see this waiting list form. If you fill that out, you will be put on the waiting list, and we will get in touch with you as we get more details available. And I'd also like to then, as I mentioned in the coach training piece, that or the Coach Network piece, that to join the network, you will have to have gone at least through the accreditation training. And so we're offering that now in a remote way, since it's difficult for us all to get together in person. So we have the new remote training cohort for Business DNA starting October 12th. So coming up soon. We do in-depth reviews of the reports. You get your questions answered. You review real case studies. You can bring your own case studies and reports to the program and have us all discuss with you. And then at the end, you become accredited as a DNA behavior consultant. And it's a self-study program. So you do a self-study component, and then we have a meeting, and then you do a self-study component, and we have a meeting. And we really think it's a great program, but don't take our word for it. We're super excited to have Jeff Morris from Dreamsmart Academy. He just finished the last Business DNA remote training cohort, and we would love to have Jeff tell us a little bit about what that experience was like for him. What did he take away from it? What did you think about the experience overall? So again, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can see you out of our corner here. And Jeff, welcome to the community call, and please share with us what your experience was with the training.
Hey, Nikki. Hey, Leon. Good to see you guys. As usual, you're doing a great job with this presentation. But if you're on the call and you're considering becoming a part of the Coach Network, or coach, trainer, mentor, whatever your role is, this information is transformational in any business, no matter what your role is in the business. As you can see, Nikki's a world-class trainer, coach, educator. And at the Dreamsmart Academy, we believe it's our competitive marketing edge, right? There are many great tools in the marketplace, but as you get into the complete suite of services available through this, the DNA profiles, there's not one that can be as granular and give you as much comprehensive core information about who a person really is from the inside out. And we're talking financial, their financial DNA, we're talking their behavioral DNA, their communication, We're talking everything that can be measured, more than 200 behaviors really. So we're excited about the possibilities of continuing to integrate all of the tools into our business, but the training is world class. Nikki and Leon both will always be available to you. So anything that needs to be answered for you, I call them the godfathers of behavior. I've known Leon now for more than 7 years, and everything that we talked about 7 years ago is now happening in our business. So I'm excited about it. The training that you will receive, as I said, will be transformational in every way, no matter what your current role is: coach, trainer, mentor, or educator. Very powerful stuff.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Can you share just one thing that you took away from the training program that you maybe didn't have before you started training, but that you took away from the program?
Well, one of the most important things that I've taken away was the work that you just showed, and that's the comparison reports, right? When you can bridge the gap between the behavior and I should say the misalignment of behavior, because usually where there's friction in relationship is usually around the area of communication or the issue of the misalignment of behaviors. So when you can show people, a family or an organization, where there's behavioral misalignment and that's why friction is being caused, and when you can teach them how to closer align and maybe not meet in the middle but get a little closer to the middle to build those mutually beneficial relationships, right? It'll change any one person's life, any family that's considering this, or any business. And we're actually using it in a community aspect, in the talk of diversity, inclusion, and race relations. So really the only limit on how you can use this information, both Nikki and Leon and those on the call, is how creative you can be. Because where there's two or more people, there's always going to be issues with behavior, and this information can definitely bring transformation to any relationship. So I'm excited about the behavioral report, the comparison report, I should say.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. We really appreciate you sharing your thoughts on the training program, and we appreciate you being part of that program with us.
Yes, thank you, Jeff. For those of you that don't know, Jeff and I met back in 2014, and he's become a behavioral superpower leader. That's the name of their sort of, that they branded Dreamsmart Academy. And he has really generated a lot of relationships and outside of his team, but just around sort of the whole DNA behavior sort of work that they do. And I am very proud to work with him and the team. So thank you, Jeff, for sharing such a great insight into the training. And it was one of those things when we launched the cohort training, because prior to that, we always had done in-person training. One of the things I definitely observed through the training was, I think the connection point in those biweekly meetings created a lot more cohesiveness. So I'm glad you're one of the first graduates of the program. So thank you. All right. So we do have one more poll question to ask, and we always ask this question, but it never gets tiring for us. But would you be willing to share a scenario or a case study from your own business? And if so, would you yes, please contact me or us? Yes, but I don't have one to share yet, but I'm probably working on it. And then not at this time. So if you could please just take a moment and answer the question. We're always interested to see what the group is interested in sharing. So with that, I'll give it a couple more seconds, and we've got a few outstanding. And then we're getting towards the end of the hour, or the end of the program. But I'm going to go with this, and we're going to say, yes, please contact me. So we're going to say that's a yes, and we appreciate that. And we will, once the survey question comes out at the end of this webinar, please take time and write your name down, because we really go back and refer to that when we get ready for the next community call. And we like to keep it interactive. I mean, as Jeff was sharing with you some of their sort of results of what they do, when two or more people come together, it really does make a difference. So with that, we'll close the program, and we do like to highlight the book that launched earlier this year, the DNA Behavior Leadership book. And if you have any questions, you can either direct it to me, to Nikki, or to inquiries at DNA Behavior. Most of you know that we have a support at DNA Behavior email box. That's more for support issues, but if you have any sales questions or anything that relates to building the business, send it to inquiries at DNA Behavior. And with that, Nikki, did you have anything else to close with?
No, thank you all for being here. And for those of you watching the recording, would love to hear your thoughts. And again, we'd love to hear from you on a future community call. So we look forward to seeing you on the next call.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Jeff, for your participation today. Have a great day.